Hey, this is Sam Black with a recap of my last match in this Twisted Cube. I lost the roll and decided to keep 4 lands with good distribution of colors: Rolling Earthquake, Murderous Redcap, Emrakul, which is a fairly weak hand but does have some decent catch-up mechanics in the form of a Sweeper and Redcap. So I'm going to use my fetch lands since I don't want to draw lands. My opponent suspended a Cloudskate. Let's watch that tick down. Plays a Reassembling Skeleton, which I don't have a great answer to, but I can just ignore it. And then plays Brain Maggot, which I don't care about because half of my hand kills it, and takes Emrakul, which I don't care about because I was nowhere near doing anything with it. So I just Redcap the Brain Maggot because Yes, I think that's right. Yeah, my opponent only has 2 cards at this point, so I decide that I don't need to be super efficient with my resources, possibly having learned a lesson from the previous Elder Deep Fiend game, and just try to not fall behind here against this Riftwing Cloudskate tempo play. Losing the Redcap that could kill the Cloudskate, but I have 4 cards in my hand that can kill Cloudskate, so I'm not worried about it. So I play Lavamancer, play a tapped land, and pass, and then decide to Magma Jet the Cloudskate when it's attacking. Don't want those lands. Find a much better land. It finds Bruna. My opponent plays Jhoira and suspends Rakdos' Return, which I assume my opponent is thinking that they can pay mana when Rakdos' Return comes off of suspend, but that's not actually how this works. So if they just cast the Rakdos' Return, I would actually be in fairly rough shape, losing my reasonably powerful hand. At that point, Bruna off Sheldock Isle would be my primary game plan, but suspending Rakdos' Return makes things much easier for me. So that turn they could have Rakdos Return for 4. I believe I might have had 5 cards, but it would not have been good for me. So my opponent plays Deep Analysis and flashes it back. And I'm feeling pretty good here. I have Chase, and next turn I'm going to be able to turn on both Sheldock Isle and Ugin. My opponent is going to cast Vampiric Tutor here. But I feel like I'm in a position to beat most things. My opponent plays their 8th mana and casts Nicol Bolas and kills my Sheldock Isle. So now I can't ever cast Bruna, and I can't cast Ugin next turn. I'm far from casting Emrakul. However, I do have a lot of burn at my disposal, so I'm going to Stagger Shock Nicol Bolas, and then so that puts Nicol Bolas to 4. It's going to come in my upkeep to 6. It's going to come in my upkeep and put Nicol Bolas to 4. So I could just Lavamancer Nicol Bolas twice to kill it, but I want to get my Jace flipped. So instead, I'm going to just start my turn, Stagger Shock Bolas, flip Jace, Magma Jet Bolas, and then activate Lavamancer to finish Bolas off. Leave that on top, play it with Carol Keep so that I can get up to enough mana to cast Ugin. kill Nicol Bolas, and now I'm back into a commanding position. My opponent actually has another strong power follow-up play here in Sheoldred, but my creatures don't matter that much. My game is about my planeswalkers at this point, but I have an interesting decision in my upkeep. So I have exactly 8 mana in play, which means I can cast Ugin, but I don't have enough to activate Grim Lavamancer and cast Ugin. If I did, then I could sack Murderous Redcap, return it to deal 1 to Sheoldred, Ugin to deal 3, and Grim Lavamancer to deal 2, killing it. And I can do that if I draw a land, but I have no way of knowing if I'm going to draw a land or not. But I decided the upside on that is high enough, because if I don't kill it, Riftwind Cloudskate is coming into play, which can bounce Ugin, which doesn't kill me, but is much worse than the alternative. So I decided to set up the possible line where I get to deal with the Sheoldred easily right away. Return the Redcap, shoot Sheoldred, and then I draw Fall of the Titans, which does not let me finish off this Sheoldred. Although, actually, I guess I could have just hardcast Fall for 3 and activated Lavamancer to kill Sheoldred and Jhoira. It's possible that I should have done that, but I went with Ugin Jhoira, or however that name is pronounced, and leave the Sheoldred, letting my opponent Riftwind Cloudskate the Ugin. But my opponent decides to Riftwind Cloudskate my Lavamancer while their Rakdos Return is about to come in. And I don't know if my opponent is at this point thinking that Rakdos Return is going to do something different than what it does. I think it's fairly likely, given that they suspended it, that they think it's going to work, which might have factored into what they bounced at the Cloudskate. So they can return for 6 here if they get to just cast it. If they just get to put mana into it, I don't know what their thinking is. If they just get to put mana into it, then they can return for 8. Maybe their plan is to return for 8 on Ugin and make me discard my hand and attack Ugin with Cloudskate to kill it and get the Grim Lavamancer for free. But I feel like just getting 8 extra damage to me and bouncing and making me discard the Ugin would be better. So I don't really know what was going on there. But obviously that doesn't work. My opponent attacks with those. I want to chump block Sheoldred. Given that I'm doing that, I also block the skeleton, because Sheoldred would just kill my other creature in my upkeep anyway. My opponent's follow-up is a Stronghold Assassin, which doesn't really do anything. So bouncing the Lavamancer actually worked out as poorly as possible for my opponent, as it enables Surge on Fall of the Titans, which means that I can use Fall of the Titans plus Ugin to kill my opponent's creatures. And now I have things pretty well in hand, and my opponent concedes the match. I don't know why. Conceding the game certainly makes sense. Maybe they had to leave or something. But that was all the playing that I got to do. So that's it for this deck in this draft. I think the deck was pretty good. I went 2-1, but played really badly in the match that I lost. In the second game, I threw it away by not using my mana efficiently enough on the turn that my opponent broke Standstill, and then in the third game, I just misread the board state. So that wasn't great. Overall, yeah, so I think the deck was very good. Not really, as far as I understand, one of the things going on in this cube. Like, my color probably didn't feel very twisted. I was just playing red burn and removal spells and normal white and blue support cards and some artifact mana and Ugin. But sweet deck anyway. I did play against the blue aggro deck, although this Grixis control deck was pretty much a standard Grixis control deck, and my first round opponent's dredge deck seemed like a pretty normal green-black dredge deck. Personally, my opinion is still out on how unique the play experience is with this cube, but it certainly enables some unusual decks. I guess the takeaway is you can do some things you can't usually do in cube, but the good cube stuff is still, I mean, those are just great Magic cards, and that's still a reliable plan. I think that this cube is relatively creature heavy, especially small creatures, especially because of the way that blue is built. So cards like Stagger Shock and small burn spells in general are better than they would otherwise be. And Grimloft Mancer type cards also. But anyway, hope this helps you get some idea of what this cube looks like if you're thinking about getting into it and haven't yet. And that's it for me for this week.